The city that German immigrants built on beer, Bratwurst, and the knowledge that Friday means fish. A city that survived prohibition by selling chocolate and cheese spreads. That turned a sausage into a mascot and made it race around a baseball stadium. That drinks brandy when the rest of the country drinks whiskey, and has been doing it for 100 years and is not changing. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Brew City. America's Dairyland's largest city. A place where ordering the wrong cocktail tells the bartender everything they need to know about you. Where Friday night is not a choice. Where a burger without butter is not a burger. The rest of the country has discovered craft beer, cheese curds, and the Bloody Mary garnish. Some of that came from here. None of those outside versions are doing it right. What we're going to look at today are 10 dishes that were either invented here, perfected here, or so deeply embedded in Milwaukee's identity that no outside version has come close. Beer, Bratwurst, butter, custard. 4 things. 1 city. And a food culture that predates most of American history. The first brewery in Milwaukee opened in 1840. By 1880, Germans made up 27% of the city's population, the highest concentration of any single immigrant group in any American city. They brought lager, a cold fermented, effervescent beer that American palates had never tasted. A beer that required ice to age properly, and Milwaukee had Lake Michigan. Jacob Best, Frederick Pabst, Joseph Schlitz, Frederick Miller. These names built this city. By the end of the 19th century, Milwaukee was producing more beer than any city on earth. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 destroyed most of Chicago's breweries overnight. Schlitz raced free beer to Chicago survivors by steamship. A loyalty was purchased that lasted generations. Schlitz became the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Pabst tied blue silk ribbons around every bottleneck from 1882 to 1916. That is where the name Pabst Blue Ribbon comes from. By 1903, Schlitz was the largest brewery in the United States. Milwaukee was simultaneously home to 4 of the world's largest breweries. When Prohibition arrived in 1920, the Big Four survived by making chocolate, malt syrup, and cheese. When it ended in 1933, Milwaukee held a festival. Miller is still there. The craft beer revival brought dozens of others back. The story never really stopped. It just changed format. And when you walk into any Milwaukee bar and order a Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, introduced in 1903, you are drinking something that was conceived 1 block from where Schlitz and Pabst were fighting for the same customer. This city was built on that competition. The beer still tastes like it. It is Friday night in Milwaukee. The decision has already been made. You are having fish fry. The Friday fish fry has roots in Catholic canon law from 1249, which required abstaining from meat on Fridays. German, Polish, and other Catholic immigrants brought that tradition to Milwaukee. Lake Michigan and Wisconsin's inland lakes provided the fish: walleye, perch, bluegill, cod. Prohibition forced taverns to sell food to survive, and beer-battered fish became the vehicle. The anatomy is specific: beer batter, perch or walleye, potato pancakes or French fries, coleslaw, rye bread, tartar sauce, lemon. That is the plate. In the 1960s, the Catholic Church changed its rules. The no-meat requirement was reduced to Fridays during Lent only. Milwaukee did not notice. By then, fish fry was not religion. It was ritual. It was going to Serb Hall on the south side, or Irv's Mug, or the American Legion Post, or any of hundreds of other spots across the city. Every Friday. All year. Not just Lent. Milwaukee culinary historian Kyle Cherrick traces the fish fry origin to Jones Island in the 1860s and 70s. The conviviality of a Milwaukee fish fry, he says, is unlike any other meal codified like that anywhere in the world. He is correct. The places that do it right have not changed in decades. Serb Hall on the south side seats hundreds at long shared tables. Irv's Mug serves beer-battered lake perch at old-school prices. The Swing and Door Exchange downtown has been frying fish since the century-old stained glass was new. These places do not need a marketing campaign. Every Friday, the line tells you where to go. The debate about which spot is best has never been settled. The debate is part of the ritual. Every Milwaukeean has a list, ranked by atmosphere, by breading, by portion, by the price of the old-fashioned alongside it. This is deeply personal. Do not challenge someone's fish fry ranking in Milwaukee. You will be there a while. In 1936, Kenneth Solly Salmon opens a small coffee shop in Milwaukee. He makes hamburgers from fresh ground sirloin. He cooks them on a flat-top grill. He adds stewed onions. And then he does something that has no fully convincing explanation. He puts 2 to 3 tablespoons of real Wisconsin creamery butter directly onto the hot patty as it comes off the grill. The butter melts immediately. It runs into every crevice of the meat. It soaks into the bun. It pools on the plate. It is, by any objective measure, an unreasonable amount of butter for a hamburger. It is also, by nearly universal consensus, the best thing that has ever happened to a hamburger. Solly's Grill is still there, still family-owned, still making the same burger. The James Beard Foundation gave it American Classic status in 2022. Craig Culver, founder of the Culver's chain, has publicly acknowledged that Solly's was the template for the butter burger he later trademarked and spread to 900 locations across America. The capital B trademark belongs to Culver's. The concept belongs to Solly's. Solly's goes through 125 to 150 pounds of Wisconsin creamery butter every week, just on burgers. The restaurant is not large. The math says everything. Frozen custard was not invented in Milwaukee. The Core brothers invented it on Coney Island in 1919, adding egg yolks to ice cream to help it survive the summer heat. The result was creamier, richer, denser, slower to melt. A teenager named Paul Gill saw it at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. He went home to Milwaukee and in 1938 opened Gill's Frozen Custard on Blue Mound Road. Still there today. The oldest continuously operating custard stand in Wisconsin. His night manager, Leon Schneider, left in 1942 to open Leon's on South 27th Street. The drive-in, whose neon and walk-up window later served as the visual inspiration for Arnold's in Happy Days. In 1950, a German immigrant named Elsa Kopp opened Kopp's and invented the flavor of the day, a rotating daily special that every custard stand in America now copies. Milwaukee has more frozen custard stands per capita than anywhere else in the world. It is the unofficial frozen custard capital of the earth. Gill, Leon's, Kopp's. All three still independent, still competing, still selling out every summer evening. The owners know each other. Leon trained under Gill. Leon later helped Elsa Kopp get started. When one runs out of mix on a sweltering Saturday, they have been known to buy emergency stock from a competitor. This is a city where custard cooperation coexists with custard rivalry, and nobody finds that strange. Milwaukeeans who grew up eating frozen custard cannot eat regular ice cream without disappointment. People who try it for the first time understand immediately why this city built an entire identity around it. Bratwurst is German. The recipe dates to 14th century southern Germany. Milwaukee did not invent it. What Milwaukee did was take the Bratwurst and turn it into a civic institution, a mascot, and a ritual that defines tailgate culture across the entire state. The German immigrants who arrived in the 19th century brought Bratwurst because it was home. Usinger's famous sausage, founded in Milwaukee in 1880, became one of the most respected sausage makers in America. Still on Old World 3rd Street. You can watch the sausages being made through the window. But the defining Milwaukee ritual is the beer brat. Raw bratwurst simmered in a pot of beer, butter, and onions before finishing on the grill. The beer opens the casing and seasons the meat. Then charcoal for snap and color. Brown mustard and sauerkraut on a bratwurst bun. This is what Milwaukee tailgating smells like. At American Family Field, home of the Milwaukee Brewers, bratwursts outsell hot dogs. That fact is unique to one stadium in America. During every home game, there is the sausage race. 5 mascot sausages race around the warning track while the crowd cheers. The bratwurst's name is Brett. People take sides. Children who have never been to a Brewers game know who Brett is. That is what 150 years of bratwurst culture looks like when it finishes. The old-fashioned was invented in Louisville, Kentucky. Made with whiskey, bourbon or rye, sugar, bitters, a splash of water. This is agreed upon everywhere in the United States, everywhere except Wisconsin. In Milwaukee, a brandy old-fashioned is made with brandy, not whiskey. topped with sweet soda, sour soda, or half and half. The bartender asks, sweet, sour, or press? If you are from Wisconsin, you already know. If you are not, you are about to learn something important about yourself. The story behind why brandy replaced whiskey comes in two parts. In 1893, the Corbel brothers showcased their California brandy at the Chicago World's Fair. Wisconsin's German immigrants tasted it and recognized something familiar, smoother than whiskey, reminiscent of the fruit distillates of the old country. They went home drinking it. Then World War II arrived, and distilleries shut down to redirect grain overseas. Wisconsin distributors found 30,000 barrels of quality-aged brandy. Good brandy versus bad wartime whiskey. Wisconsin chose correctly and never looked back. Today, Wisconsin consumes over 50% of Corbel's entire annual brandy production. In 2023, the state legislature made the brandy old-fashioned the official state cocktail. Cross into Illinois, Minnesota, or Iowa and try to order one correctly. It will not go well. Come back to Milwaukee and the bartender's fingers will be stained red from the cherry juice before you finish asking. A supper club is not a restaurant. This distinction matters enormously in Wisconsin and nowhere more than Milwaukee. A supper club is a family-owned establishment, often with wood paneling, dim lighting, vintage beer signs, where you do not arrive for a quick meal. You arrive for the evening. The ritual is specific. You sit at the bar first and order a brandy old-fashioned. A relish tray arrives at the table without being asked. Fresh-cut vegetables, cheddar spread, pickled items, crackers. This is not an appetizer. It is social infrastructure. It forces everyone at the table to share before any real decisions have been made. The menu changes by day. Friday is fish fry. Saturday is prime rib. The sides, baked potato, coleslaw, rye bread, come with everything. After dinner, you return to the bar for an ice cream drink. A grasshopper, a pink squirrel, a brandy Alexander. These are not suggestions. They are the structure of the evening. Milwaukee native Lawrence Frank took the supper club concept to Beverly Hills in the 1930s, opening the first California version. Wisconsin kept the original. There are over 250 supper clubs still operating across the state. National Geographic has written about it. Multiple documentaries have been made. The James Beard Foundation has taken notice. Some things belong to a place. The supper club belongs to Wisconsin. Wisconsin produces more cheese than any other state. America's Dairyland is on every license plate. It is accurate. Over 90% of Wisconsin's milk goes into cheese. The state has 58 master cheesemakers, the only certification of its kind outside of Europe. But the most Milwaukee-specific cheese product is not aged cheddar, or Colby, or brick, though all of those were invented in this state. It is the cheese curd. The fresh, unaged, unpressed curd produced at the moment cheese is made, before it ever reaches a mold. A fresh cheese curd squeaks. This is not a metaphor. Bite into a curd made that day, and it produces an audible squeak against your teeth from the proteins in the fresh mass. The squeak is the freshness indicator. No squeak means it's too old. This is a quality standard Milwaukeeans apply seriously. Cheese curds are eaten cold, at room temperature, or deep-fried in beer batter. The deep-fried version has spread to bar menus across the country. The fresh, squeaky version stays close to home. Cheese curds lose their squeak within a day. You have to be there to get the real thing. The meal-sized Bloody Mary garnish tradition that went viral across America, entire fried chickens, mini cheeseburgers, strips of bacon piled onto a cocktail glass, started at Sobelman's Bar on Milwaukee's Near West Side in the 2000s. Dave Sobelman added increasingly extravagant toppings. The photos spread. The concept is now global. It started in a neighborhood bar because a bartender decided a garnish could be more interesting. Milwaukee is not a city that shouts about its food. It is a city that has been eating the same things, in the same way, in the same places, for generations. And it does not particularly need to explain itself. The German immigrants brought beer, Bratwurst, and the supper club. The Polish immigrants brought pierogi and kielbasa. The Italians brought their sauce and their sundaes. Together, over 150 years, they built a food identity more specific to its place than almost anything else in America. Friday is fish fry. It was religious. Now it is civic. Saturday is the supper club. Relish tray, old-fashioned, prime rib. Summer is frozen custard from Leon's or Giel or Kopp's, argued about on the walk back to the car. Tailgate season is beer brats in a pot on the back of a truck, the smell of onions and Miller High Life in the October air. Year-round is cheese curds, still squeaking, from a stand at the farmer's market. The rest of America has heard of Milwaukee. A few places have tried to copy the butter burger, the beer brat, the brandy old-fashioned. And somewhere in a Giel parking lot, someone is eating custard out of a paper cup, watching the line that never seems to get shorter. They are not thinking about what other cities are doing. That's Milwaukee. Stay curious.